If you had to name the single most important invention in all of history, what would you pick? Well, a lot of people would argue it's the steam engine. And honestly, they've got a great point. This machine didn't just change a few things, it completely re-engineered the entire world. So let's get into it.
To really get why this was such a game changer, you have to picture the world before it existed. For thousands and thousands of years, if you wanted to do anything, build something, travel, make a product, you had just two sources of power: your own muscles or the muscles of an animal, like a horse. That was literally it. Everything was limited by pure physical strength. And that right there was the huge problem. Early inventors knew that if we were ever going to build a bigger, faster, more connected world, we had to find a way to break past the limits of muscle. We needed a totally new source of energy, one that never, ever got tired. Now, the big breakthrough didn't happen all at once. It came in stages. First, back in the early 1700s, a man named Thomas Newcomen built this monster of an engine for a very specific job: pumping water out of flooded coal mines. It worked, but man, it was inefficient. It burned through a ton of fuel. Then, in the late 1700s, an engineer named James Watt came along and made some absolutely brilliant improvements that made the engine way more efficient and much more powerful. After that, in the 1800s, steam power just exploded, spreading like wildfire across England and then to the United States. So, how exactly do you turn hot water into a force strong enough to power a train? Let's break down the science behind it. It's actually a pretty elegant and surprisingly simple process that's all about turning heat into motion. Okay, so it all starts with a fire. You're burning fuel, usually coal, to heat water in a sealed tank called a boiler. When that water hits 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into steam, which expands and creates a ton of pressure. That high-pressure steam is then channeled into a cylinder, where it shoves a metal disc called a piston with incredible force. Finally, that piston is connected to rods and wheels, and its powerful back-and-forth movement is what creates the motion that powers the machine. And that piston, it's really the heart of the whole operation. Just picture a disc fitting snugly inside a tube. When that powerful steam rushes in, bam, it shoves the piston one way. Then the steam is released and it can move back. It's this constant, powerful push and pull, happening over and over, that's the real secret sauce here. So once engineers perfected this process, the steam engine didn't just hang out in the mines. Oh no, it broke out into the wider world and completely transformed pretty much every single part of daily life, from how we traveled to the clothes we wore. The change in travel was just massive. Before steam, a 200-mile trip on a muddy road by horse could take days. With a steam locomotive on iron tracks, it took just a few hours. At sea, sailing ships were totally at the mercy of the wind. A steamship, on the other hand, could power across the ocean at a steady, predictable speed no matter what the weather was doing. Suddenly, the world felt a whole lot smaller. This new power source also changed where people worked. See, before the steam engine, factories had to be built right next to a fast-flowing river to use a water wheel for power. But with a central steam engine, you could build a factory anywhere you wanted, right in the middle of a city. And that one engine could power dozens of machines all at once, leading to the rise of these huge industrial centers. And this led to a completely new concept: mass production. Instead of one person making one shirt by hand, a factory could use steam-powered machines to make thousands of identical shirts and do it really fast. And here's the crucial part. This made everyday goods like clothes, tools, and shoes so much cheaper and way more available for everybody. I mean, the impact was everywhere you looked. In mining, these engines pumped out water, letting miners dig deeper than ever before for more coal and iron ore. In agriculture, they powered machines that could do the work of dozens of people. And of course, in transportation and industry, they were literally the engine of this new age. But all of this incredible progress, well, it wasn't free. This new industrial world, powered by steam, came with some pretty serious downsides and dangers. People would hear the sound of that steam whistle, and they'd think of the future, of speed, of a new and exciting era. It was a powerful symbol of human achievement. But behind that sound, there was another side to the story. For one thing, these engines were basically controlled explosions. If the pressure inside that boiler got too high, it could explode with enough force to level an entire building and kill everyone nearby. This is what led to the invention of crucial safety devices, like pressure gauges to monitor the force and safety valves that would automatically release steam if it reached a dangerous level. And the fuel for this whole revolution was coal. So why coal? Well, compared to wood, it burns much, much hotter and for much longer time. It was the dense, powerful energy source needed to feed these incredibly hungry engines. But burning all of that coal had a huge environmental cost. Thick black smoke choked the air in industrial cities. A layer of dark soot covered everything: buildings, trees, people's clothes. For the workers living and breathing in those conditions, it was a harsh price to pay. Mining for all that coal also left huge scars on the landscape. This was the moment in history when industrial growth really started to change our planet's atmosphere. By the mid-1900s, newer inventions like the internal combustion engine and electric motors started to take over. Steam locomotives were being replaced by diesel trains. So what happened to the steam engine? You might think it's just an old-fashioned piece of history, right? Something you go see in a museum behind a velvet rope. It definitely seems like something from the distant past. Not at all. In fact, the fundamental idea of the steam engine, using heat to create steam to create motion, is still one of the most important ways we power our modern world. In most modern power plants, we're doing basically the same thing, just with a different heat source. Instead of burning coal, we use heat from nuclear reactions or from burning natural gas to boil water. This creates super high-pressure steam. But instead of pushing a piston back and forth, that steam is used to spin a massive, complex machine called a turbine at incredible speeds. That spinning turbine is hooked up to a generator, and that's what creates the electricity that powers our homes, our schools, and our phones. The principle is exactly the same. So, the original steam engine, powered by coal, kicked off the first industrial revolution. It showed us how to convert simple heat into incredible power. And that leaves us with a pretty big question for today. As we face our own set of challenges, what new sources of energy are we going to harness to fuel the next great transformation for humanity?